Hey, welcome to our third Human Being First support group session for anyone really, but anyone suffering and struggling with things, or just wanting to become a better self, a more authentic version of themselves, more able to have skills to communicate and find themselves in whatever way they need to. So, as always, we're going to start with the contract, but I'm going to get shorter and shorter with this because I'm going to direct you to the links of the other sessions where they should have the statement of intent for the group, and in there will be the contract, or it's a statement of intent. We're meant to call it contract as per counsellors, but I like to call it a statement of intent because I'm not contracting you to anything. I'm just making transparent how I work and how counselling works and how I can keep you safe and what your responsibility in that is, and expectations and things like that. So basically, in terms of this, I want you to all keep yourselves safe, but people are here not only as part of this group, but as spectators or as family members or as parents of children and teenagers or young adults who are suffering alone or have maybe come to terms to tell their parents that that's about it. So there's a lot of people who aren't actually associated with filias, or in fact child filias, but also we're welcoming everyone, basically. This is a non-judgmental zone and we are being empathic. And the reason we're being empathic is because we want to make difference and we want to create a change in the landscape. We want to have every unique person special snowflake, and reclaim that word because we are all unique. To join together and bring their yummy and their lovely and their, oh, you can do that really well done, bring that on because I'm crap at that. We want everyone to come along with their passions and their little skills and tidbits and all these different things. And also, yeah, they're vulnerable, they're things that need supporting, and oh, you do that for that, that's really interesting, I might try that out, but without the beginning bit because I'd more like to do it like this. So we want to create a community of people that say what we're doing thus far isn't helping humanity, isn't helping children, isn't helping survivors and victims, and isn't helping teenage and young adults coming to terms with being in the child philia attraction range. And we've got to stop and think for a second about that you will one day, as your hormones kick in and all your friends are staying either with their sexual group and gradually maturing with them, or they're looking ahead to that sexual group that they can't quite touch yet, but one day they'll be suave and sophisticated enough. Hey Dexter, in your bed. But they're realizing that they're leaving their attraction behind, and then they're starting to realize what it is. And then they're starting to be scared of themselves and everything in the world and what's going to happen to them and how their parents are going to feel and everyone's going to hate them and what a lonely place that must be. And when we understand that in current understanding, 70% of child molestation happens by people who aren't attracted to children. So that's an incredible figure. We need to stay focused on that and say, right, that's only 30% of people who are attracted to children who go ahead to actually offend and act upon a child. So yeah, we do need to make a support group for that, and we need to make counselling where that is available, and really have the same ethics that are available to any other person going with a struggle to counselling, which is you get confidentiality. Unless there is a fear of self-harm, harm to someone else, or harm to a child. And yes, you may think, oh, of course there's going to be harm to a child if you have child philia. But lots of people, well, lots of women, in fact, there's a high percentage of women that fantasize about rape, and they don't want to go out raping and be raped, and want even to have that in daily conversation. That's just one of their little mind things that they go on when they're intimate. And we don't want to associate the same things. We don't want to have it closed down that you're allowed to speak about fear, about thoughts, about attraction, and get help for that support and skill and offloading, and someone to be able to signpost if that's needed, but mainly be a safe and secure soundboard so that you can say these things out loud and then realize, oh no, I wouldn't ever want to do that, obviously. This is just what I'm fighting with, or what can I do? And blah, blah, blah. So then you get on to the living with rather than against and then failing, or living against and then not coming to your full blossom without offending. And the other statistic that's coming through is that of what they know of, around 70% of child philia affected people don't offend. So that's a lot of people who aren't attracted to children offending. And I was invited on a podcast to talk, Growth Over Comfort podcast. Look out for it. They're a really great team. And that is a real shocking thing to hear. Well, why? How could you? Why would you? Well, how would that even happen if you're not? Mind blown. But actually, what you've got to understand is the spectrum of self, and anyone can be in a spectrum of self, from the joyful, gleeful, there isn't another day, and let's just live for today, to the absolute sinful, and the worst version of self, and really ashamed, and gosh, I don't know how I ever did that. And also you have spectrums of people. So some people can't help but be born on the psychopathic, narcissistic, sociopathic end, and they have a smaller empathy zone, and they can depersonalize and dissociate and objectify and elevate themselves, and they're just born that way. So we've all got to get better at keeping ourselves in our best version of whatever we're born. So if we then think about it, that actually this 70% that go ahead and molest children without even being sexually attracted to them, how can that happen? But if you think about self in that realm of spectrum of self, and you think about the main majority of people that are doing this, which are male, and they are males in crisis. So not only do we have to say, wait there, these particular people, male and female, who have child philia, need counselling, confidential counselling that gets them to be their best self in a society that can accept them and that they're really working on self with, and they don't ever offend because, they've come to terms and they've found belonging and relationship and meaningful. But also that we have men in general saying, I can go and open up, because otherwise, some of them will end up doing something they couldn't even dream of, like offending a child. And that's only because it's the right set of circumstances, and it was available, and it just, the A plus B equals C, and this popped out and I did it, oh my God. Or stealing, they might steal a car or steal money from a parent, or kill someone because they're in a gang, or something that just sends them over the edge into their worst version of self, and all of a sudden they've done something. So that's the people who aren't attracted to children that are doing this. And those people, mainly men, need a confidential space to go and gradually take off the lid of the bottle so that it doesn't spill everywhere and cover everyone in crap. It just comes off, lets off the hot air, and then gets put back on with a steady drink inside that you can drink at your leisure. So we want to get it that counselling actually, it's not about going and particularly even, you don't even really have to open up even. And there's lots of ways of counselling where you don't have to talk about your story at all. I do rewind therapy, which you don't have to tell me whatsoever. We just go through this set of things and it takes it from your amygdala and restores it in your prefrontal cortex. And it's a really amazing thing. And it's quite nice to do when you just don't have the words and you just don't want to talk about it. You just want to be free of it in some way. And it just restores it. It's still there, but it just doesn't affect you in the same way. So I want it to be that counselling is thought about in terms of personal development, and that it's thought about in terms of safety and exploration of self and getting self to their most authentic and easily communicated and able to stay boundaried and safe. Dexter, get in your bed. Get in your bed. Look, you're spoiling the thing. No. Get in your bed. In your bed. Oh, bed. No. Do you want to go in the kitchen? Are you going to counsel with Mummy? Huh? Are you going to do counselling with Mama? Well, stop being silly. Come on then. Sit down now. Yeah, right. Men, go to counselling, go to personal development. Women, go to counselling, go to personal development. People in general, go to counselling, go to personal development. I've got a lot of children at the moment, a lot of students. You know, this generation is struggling because they are in the online generation, and it is a burden to be that perfect all the time for everyone to see, and also be judged on a daily, and have that internal, external, how am I going to feel today, until I know how many likes I've got, or how many shares I've got, or how many whatevers I've got. Similar to stepping on the scales. It's like you get up and think, oh, I feel really good, and you step on, oh, not so good. Why would you let that dictate to you that your day is going to be crap because, oh, a thing, objectified a number on me, when before that I felt really good in the mirror and, accepted what was there. Can't be mad at it. When you see yourself as a human being, you start looking at yourself differently, so that you can be kind to what's in front of you. So I want you guys to think about counselling, think about looking into your governing body, or mine. Mine is BACP, British Association for Counselling and Psychotherapy. But, if you're in America or wherever you are, we've got lots of different nationalities in the group. Get in your local, get towards their governing body, a counselling or therapy governing body, and find someone and test the water. And just test the water with philia in general if you get there. But first of all, just go as a person, as a human being that needs assistance in becoming their full self and getting their configured self put together, so that wherever they go, there they are, and whatever comes, you know what to do with it, because shit hits the fan. Let's get our wellies on. We are team whatever, because we know what to do in this situation, and I don't get lost and lie down in the stream of shit. I just get my boots on and stand up and get sweeping out, and reclaim my space. So do you, and think about counselling, because it is an amazing thing. And if you go for person-centered counselling, which is all about empathy and congruence and unconditional positive regard, I call it kindness unconditional, because you're turning up, so you're going to get kindness, whatever. I'm going to be kind to you. Person-centered being is about that kindness of you. You have taken a real fearful step, and you've been very brave in turning up, and that deserves kindness, no matter how icky you think it is, or how awful whatever's said, or what burdensome you whatever, or what trauma you couldn't share, or whatever it is, you then know that it's going to have a kind, empathic space that's going to be true with it. And it's not going to give it some false expectation of making better or fixing. It's going to say, right, that's a hard thing to live with. Let's see if you can live with it better. Let's see if we can make a team around you. Let's see if we can create some statements. Let's see if we can get some trigger cues. Let's see if we can create some exit plans or some safety mechanisms or some skills around this, that, and the other. So we're not changing anything. You're becoming more yourself in a knowledgeable way, and then everything is different because you're different with it. So person sending is about you being the educated party. So I've got a few people that are sending in their self-descriptions and what's going on for them, and we will get to talking about people who want to anonymously share their content itself, so we can unpack it as a group or as a person and make some forward movement themselves. And that's really brave and great for them to do that for us. So of course we're going to keep you safe, and of course you can also send that in just to us privately. Email me or Twitter or Facebook and all that sort of stuff, or even on YouTube, put a message on there, because it can be confidential as well. You can just be reaching out and I can reach back, but it doesn't have to feature. So remind yourself that this is your journey and I'm not responsible for it. I'm not responsible for you. I'm not even responsible for my clients, and I am responsible for them. But I'm not responsible for their behaviour. I'm responsible in getting them to a point of real knowing, and if they divulge something to me that I feel is worrying, that we must have a conversation and make a plan for signposting and what other things that need to be in place or whatever that is, and then we would construct that plan. So even then they would be fully involved. Complaints and queries, again, my governing body is BACP. I love complaints and queries. Come to me if anything has, caught you or triggered you or upset you, or I've, said something. And I know, like on the podcast, I got haemophilia and paedophilia the wrong way around. I thought, oh God, everyone's going to get cross about that. But, human error, and my brain does that. It switches things, because I think the way there was the opposite one of the one I thought. And then one day it'll learn it and I'll keep thinking it's the opposite of the one that I thought. And then I get totally muddled because it's always the opposite of the one that I thought. So it's me. I'm not stupid. I'm dyslexic. And we just got to accept that it, Google it. If I've got it wrong, I've got it wrong. But, you get the gist. Do your own research. I'm not your mummy. So get in touch. Or go through the BACP, because I love learning, and if I've got some learning to do, well, I will take it on the chin or in the heart or wherever else I need to take it. I'm just a human being who's forever becoming, and I do a great deal of reading, even though it's the bane of my dyslexia. I read like a 6-year-old, but I do it, and I read it from cover to cover because only 10% of it's going to go in, so I better. And I do a lot of CPD, I go to a lot of courses and all sorts of stuff. So I do my absolute best, but it just doesn't configure factually in the same way that it does on other people. My memory does not lay down in that way. And so be it. What can you do about it? It's not to do with us. So confidentiality, you must keep yourself confidential. If you contact me and say this is confidential, I will keep it confidential. If you say I can be featured, that would be interesting, I will still keep you confidential, and we'll jolly along. I have supervision once a month, and that goes on for hours and hours and hours. We love to chat, me and my supervisor. We do a lot of personal development and also professional development, and I unpack corner clients. So if you feature, which you have a little bit actually, I will tell you about it. So I will tell you about that now. So you have featured. My supervisor is very excited about all of this. You might even come one time and be part of the thing. She's an amazing woman, so we'd love to have her. So watch out for that. But supervision is just a real safe place to unpack and to think about things in a slightly different way, because when you get in an involved relationship, which is a really meaningful one, a counselling relationship, and it needs to be, that is the main part of counselling. You have to have a good relationship, otherwise you're not doing counselling, you're just fearfully getting through every time. So the relationship is the main thing, and that has been studied. It doesn't matter what genre of counselling, psychodynamic, CPD, Jungian, person-centered, whatever, rub your knee and move on, pull your socks up. It's just about the relationship. If someone's doing that in a way that's really, come on, let's rub your knee and pull your socks up, and you can do this, and well done you, and off you go again, I'm behind you. That would really be wonderful, wouldn't it, if they did it like that? So it's about the relationship. So it's very deep and meaningful, and supervision is the same, and it's about really going into all the dark corners and going, oh, that's really interesting, right, I'll take that back. And it is good. Cancellation policy, I will turn up. I've got a kidney stone at the moment, and pain, it's making my fractured spine, like the herniation disc thing, even worse, because I'm favouring that side away from the kidney stone. So I am still turning up. So it takes a lot to make me not turn up. So I'm turning up. If I don't turn up, you know it's serious. So, well, don't worry, but know that I'm not like, palming you off and forgetting about you, and not making you as precious as every one of my clients that I have. You're all really precious, and I want you to know that. Contact me, do it, why not? What's the worst that can happen? I am bound by ethics, so there's going to be no doxing, there's going to be no fear for me contacting anyone, any shape or form. I'm not interested in that at all. I'm not responsible for you, and I don't want to, make anyone uncomfortable. I want to make people their best version of self, so that they have their inner honor and they have a nice internal structure that takes care of this thing they've got to live with. Yeah, it's a bad one, but we can. Loads of them do. 70% of them do. So let's do some learning and stop being so scared to go, right, there's 70% that can. Come tell us about it, because we're like stuck in the dark here. Come and actually give us some learning, because sorry about all that other hunt you down and kill you and hang from the posts and shit. That was our bad. Sorry. We'll stop doing that, and we'll get back on with actually learning about this stuff and seeing beyond our core wound. I've got a core wound. We've all got core wounds. That doesn't give us entitlement to project them onto the next generation. We've got to stop and think about that for a second. The next generation are receiving not just damage that is, this is not making any difference because our core wounds are being projected upon it, and we're thinking emotionally instead of cleverly with our prefrontal cortex instead of our amygdalas. Oh God, beautiful shit, run, axe them, whatever. No, we're not here, and we've got to get here for the sake of the next generation. But on top of that, we're perpetuating this fearful attitude that is going to impregnate all of those teenagers coming up with this thing that they realize, that they go, whoa, I'm not taking that anywhere. I'll just one day get to the worst version of myself, and if it comes out, it comes out, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. I might steal a car instead, hopefully, fingers crossed. And that's like any of us. You put a maternal, instinctual Mother Earth woman with her child in a war zone, she's going to pick up a gun and fucking shoot you. So we can all turn on a sixpence, put in the right conditions of self, and the right environment of life. So you just got to be really happy, joyful, feeling lucky, and yay me that I didn't get that one, because oh yeah, that's a real tough one to live with. Yeah, and really I shouldn't push you into the corner of your worst version of self, because that makes me a little bit culpable for how you're going to act. If I push and push and dox and chase and discriminate and stigmatize and do all these hateful things around a condition, then I'm actively adding to that condition of perpetration. Because these people don't just wake up and perpetrate. It's a long journey, unless they're within an ancestral family that just do it and it's their normal, in which case, oh, so much care needs to go there. So anyway, contact, get in contact. Note taking. I don't take notes. I don't need notes. I don't want notes. I don't like notes. If I get referrals, I don't read the notes until several sessions later, and I can read them with a true version of my client before I go, oh, really? Oh, is that what you thought? Oh, right. Well, we can all make mistakes on the phone when we've had a 3-second conversation with someone. So I like to meet the person. I like to stay with the person. I like to stay in the here and now. And because I do that, I get a very good relationship with my clients. And we naturally see patterns together, or little things that stick together, or arc at the end, and she'll go, oh my God, there's the end of it. Let's run, because we found the garment. We found the thread and we've worked our way back to the garment that is treasurable, or, oh, yeah, that's a piece of shit. We might as well dump that. Now we know that. We don't have to chase it anymore. Whatever it is, it's a good thing. It feels good to have done. So, yeah, note taking. I don't need them. If, on the other hand, you like them, my clients want them, then we take some and they take them home and they treasure them. And they might bring them back, or they might write them up, or they might frame them as like session 3. Look what we got from it. Because my notes are a little bit, as you might imagine, because I'm a little bit creative and a bit, they're a little bit imaginative and they go all over the place. And then I'll, oh, wait, this links to that. And I'll do a little thing and it will become this big sort of picturescape of therapy, which is quite interesting to look at and decipher. But that's all, that's the goal. It's about seeing self as a configured thing rather than a conveyor belt of stuff that we get to or not. We don't want to be linear. We want to be multifaceted. We want to be multidimensional. So anyway, getting on with the day's topics. Last week, we had stigma, discrimination, suicide baiting, suicidality, depression, anxiety, OCD, and human rights. And it was a great session. She says, yeah, I had a good time. I hope you did too. Today's session is the topic how to deal, and there's lots of how to deals, and this is again given by really lovely people that are offering content, and one of them has been how to deal with religion, how to deal with self-worth, how to deal with identity, how to do with morals, how to do with being around minors. So we're going to try and get to all of that tonight, and the first part of how to deal is locating what is your work. So, is this my work to do? If it's not, well, job done. Off I go. Because you can't do someone else's work. You can notice it. You can offer gifts towards it. You can support it if they want to get started. You can communicate. You can do all sorts of things. If they don't want to, though, you end, because that's their work to do. And if you're in a very deep and meaningful relationship and they don't want to do work, and that's actively against your becoming person and actualization of self and being safe and a good version of yourself, then it might be split up time, because you cannot live like that. And there is a good match for everyone, and some people just don't match well. And it's for us to know that. Not for us to just maintain this existence with someone because, well, we chose them. We can always unchoose very easily. So work out what is your work to do. And if it is your work to do, then you say, right, where can I take this work to do? Because we can only do work if we are here. Now, if we're here in our amygdalas, if we're sleeping in our car, or in such danger of getting docs that, or we have got docs and we haven't got a job, like if we're on the bottom rung of Maslow's hierarchy needs, look it up in one of the little theory bubbles, then we cannot get to some kind of actualization, because we've got to work out what we're going to where we're going to buy our food, or where we're going to sleep, or where we're where we need some water, or we need to get clean, or whatever it is. Once we've got safe and we've got some health about our body, and we're not just fitfully sleeping, we're actually getting rest and recuperation, and we've got some security and some real homing, then we can get to a little bit of belonging with self and some of those esteem needs and that cognitive self. But before then, if you are wondering where you'll work and how you're going to work, and you haven't got your situation sorted, put that to one side and get yourself safe. Once you've got your situation safe, then think about taking it somewhere safe. So, can I go and see a counsellor? Can I go and talk about this in the broadest way without mentioning the word before we know that they are trusted people, that they're not these counsellors that have a knee-jerk reaction to anything. They are going to treat it as they would any other client with an ethical, beneficent basis and with their ethics in place. But until then, be broad and go in with just the human and the person, and maybe just a philia, not the child one, but someone. Test the water, see how, oh God, and if they do that to thinking about spoons, then, well, let's not go there. But if they're, bring the spoons on. Do you want to do the knife and fork as well? If they're like that, well, then we might move on to the main course, and they're safe enough to be trusted. So find somewhere to do the work, is what I'm saying, because otherwise you're just stuck. You're just stuck with it going, I can't do the work, and that's really unfair, because how would you know? Why would you know how to do the work? I didn't know how to do the work. I read a whole ton of books and did a whole load of courses and did a degree and all these different things, and I'm still, just getting up every day and finding myself and becoming, and every time I do it, it's just really great. You get into this trustful flow, and it becomes being in a really wonderful way of being. So I want that for everyone. Everyone deserves it. Go and find yourself a counsellor to do the work. So find out if it's your work to do. So we're going to get to the first topic, religion. And for me, religion is a real tough topic if you're an indoctrinated religion. Because if you have conditions of worth around it, so you get our love if you are a Christian, you will only be if you stick by Mormonism. Oh, you're out of wedlock, well, not with Catholics. If it's that kind of religion and not a relationship with God, your God, whatever, then you're into indoctrination, you're into stigma, you're into conditions of worth and projection. So first of all, you've got to separate out, what are my conditions of worth? Am I continuing this? And it's an absolute battle with my soul because I want mummy to love me. Do I need to sort of say, actually, I can do without mummy's love for a year while she comes to terms with the fact that, I'm a person that has a relationship with God, just not the same one as her. And let her come and find the man, and we have an actual relationship that is really meaningful, and I actually exist in, not just exist, I'm being in. So separate the conditions of worth and see what you can and can't deal with, because it may well be you just go, when I go there, I put myself slightly to one side and I do this thing for a minimal amount of time that my body can take. I have a really good get out plan, I have my trigger things, I have my boundaries, I have my safeties, I have my pre-care, my aftercare, I have my communicator, I have my phone call to get out. I've got all these things in place, but I still want my mum, even though, she hates the fact that I, whatever. Because even some people, even 2018, can't accept their gay children because their religion is so indoctrinated. Most people are getting their heads around it, but some still can't. So, this philia thing must be a real tough one. So, if they're struggling with it, let them. Your work to do is, right. The way that I like to see it is in the physics way. And they've proven this with physics. I think there's some real brainiacs in lots of different universities got together and they proved what's called the God particle. Google it, the God particle. And we've all got it inside ourselves. Every vibrating, living essence of a thing has it. Even rocks have it. Everything has it, a vibrational God particle. And for me, the way to consolidate your relationship with your God, no matter what struggle you've been born with or given through trauma and reconfiguration of brain, that you say, my God particle that's within me, I'm going to honour. I can't honour anyone else's. I don't know how to. I'm going to let them get on with their work on finding out how to honour their God particle. But mine, I'm going to start honouring. And that means I need to listen to it. I need to give it boundaries. I need to make it safe. I need to have communication for it. I need to honour it and witness it. I need to fulfill its potential. And it's an insult to your principle of self to follow an indoctrination that goes against that principle of belonging. Now, if you can have your God particle as the most sacred thing, and that the way to, if you like, do God's work, which is what most people are trying to achieve, is that they fulfill some kind of, connection and ongoing whatever. The way to do that is to say, right, you've given me this gift of a God particle, my living vibration, so I'm going to honour that. What are my principles? What are my passions? What is my best life? How do I make my best marriage to whomever? And trust that whatever bigger than us, godliest particle that is sending out all of these vibrations that we're bashing off each other, doesn't make mistakes. You're born, and if that's what they say, God doesn't make mistakes, well, then you're born without mistake. And that might be to learn and share and be and find and create safety for this self, this attraction, this struggle, this way of being, this identity, this philia, this cognitive, this trauma, this intrusive thought, whatever it is, however it presents, you actually hone it. And then you become more than it. It's just one bit of your sexual spectrum, of which you keep very safely and securely honed within. And you live with it. It's like, when you get in a monogamous relationship as a pansexual, you find ways of being creative and you live with it in really great ways that celebrate it without doing anything that harms anyone. So we can celebrate you beyond this one tiny part, so that you get to a bigger version of self that includes all of your authentic roles, all of your perceived self, because now we're not running from self, we're diving in and saying, right, yeah, there's that, and we've got that safe. What else is there? What else can we find now that we're safe and we're allowed to look? And well, we're not scared of ourselves anymore, and we're not feeling like we shouldn't invest in, rotten creep like me, or whatever projection you've been given. Well, actually, no. I'm allowed to be a human being that is investable and that has a creative spirit and has belonging to have and has something valuable to give and that is treasurable and that is worth celebrating. So find your God particle and start honouring it. So if I am in humanity or back from culpability and justice to humanity, then I am valuable. Now, I know that a lot of people can find themselves invaluable, not valuable, that they have a decrepit feeling of self. They have no value because of their action, their behaviour, whatever it is that has evented. And that's anyone that's behaved badly. It doesn't have to be someone that has sexually perpetrated against a child. It can be any perpetration, any bad behaviour or feeling or word, or you don't have to have gone to prison. Much damage is done by the sword of the tongue. So we've got to allow ourselves to be culpable and responsible for our full spectrum of self, so that we can keep ourselves in this homeostatic balance. So we're not ever tipping towards our worst end, and we're not ever tipping towards our freely giving, there's no future end, because that's dangerous too. There is future, and we have to secure it and secure ourselves and make safe everyone. So when we live in this safer zone, knowing the edge of the cliff, we actually get a greater version of self that we can invest into. And if we invest in our greatest versions of self, then we get something really achievable out of it, something really authentic and really achievement making. We get steam out of it, because wow, look what we've done, look what we've created. You know, even out of the ashes, we have resurrected ourself and our bond to self and our principle and our bond to humanity. So if we've done either the work that is I've never gone there and champion years, or I've done the work which is that I have gone there, but I am working on my rehabilitation, and I am working on my culpability, and I have done my justice and all those things. Then everyone's got to start somewhere, and you are welcome to. Just don't do it yet. Okay. Well, no, not joking. Playing with you. So if you can then keep yourself valuable, you will keep others valuable. You will give yourself more value to stay principled. So then you're keeping your godly particle, your God particle as principles, and you're saying, I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to project onto people. I don't want to create dissociative selves in children or anyone else. I don't want to create distrust and unsafety in my home because I keep stealing from people's purses, because I won't talk about this thing that's dragging me down, or however this behavior is emoting out however this emotion is emoting through behavior. We're actually then taking that somewhere else and giving it space to actually be visited and talked about and met, so that we can keep our principles. They have a fighting chance. If you just ignore, push down, eat shit pie, ignore, push down, eat shit pie, well, you're going to end up sick. Anyone's going to end up sick. So, well, do judge, but don't get there. Like, stay here so that you don't have to be judged. Everyone can be their better version of self. So when you've got that culpability and you hold that principle, you can then get to a place where I can grow and celebrate my value in environments conducive to growth. So if you're saying, I have value, that means you are protecting a growth space, which means if I have some value, then I can grow that value. If I can hold that value safe, then I don't want to step out of that valuable space, that value, that meaning that I've made, those relationships, those bonds, that achievement, that esteem that I'm building, this Maslow's triangle that I'm gradually building up that represents an authentic life, that has a me, a fully functioning me represented in there. So if I can have it that I've thought about the conducive environment to growth, and I'm giving it that, then I'm more likely to grow in a good way. If I stunt it and harrow it and put it into danger's way and put it out into stigma and discrimination and keep it from the light, then you're going to get stunted, malformed growth of self, and that's going to get judged because you got what you got. But anyone else, almost really, it's more we should worry about, not sexually attracted to children people, because they're the ones doing most of the thing, and they're the ones that's the way they lash out. Gosh, we want to get non-pedophiles into therapy and talking, because they're the ones that seem to lash out like this. Maybe actually we need to learn where this value principle comes in, because every time we get to our worst version of self, we might do something else that is bad behavior, but it's not this. And we might learn something there in that, there is something that's, although I did read something on that research, which was about true love for children. Paedophilia is about this gentle belongingness, this loving, this attraction, this not wanting to hurt. So they wouldn't lash out. So their stepping over the boundary into doing is a much longer pathway, and it's fraught with, indecision and conflict, and are they or aren't they, and all these little hurdles that they get over, that they tip. Yet, I think that they've said yes there, or they've shown me a sign that means, or they have to convince themselves. It's a very long process. So that love actually gets in the way of the offence. So maybe there's something in that we need to learn, that all people need a bit more love. Anyway, sit with it, see what your needs are. So if you can find this space to grow, then you can create your responsibility for it. You can say, actually, I can be culpable for this. I can be the governor of this situation. I can be autonomous. I own me. I'm self-governing. I drive my bus. And if I notice that the back wheels burst, well, I'm going to pull it over. I'm not going to run over anyone and carry on with 3 wheels fine and 1 well, whatever. I'm going to pull my bus over and sort the business out. So once you get knowledgeable, and I've been talking with a lot of retirement age minor attracted people that have lived their whole life without any inkling of offending, wouldn't ever offend, and they have this video and they've lived with it absolutely fine, and they've made a great self and life and all's tickety-boo. So this is all just a little bit interesting, rather than needed verge of something, or fighting urge. They've sort of got through that, and they're on the other side, so they're a source of information, and a really valuable one. So I cannot, nor is it my responsibility, to educate entitled ignorance. So again, not my work to do. If you keep pouring all your energy into not your work, then that is where your energy goes. It can't grow into nothing, because they don't hold it valuable. They just go, yeah, pour your energy here, we're keeping you busy. They think they're keeping you busy from being a paedophile, but actually they're keeping you busy from becoming your best version of self, which includes being really IT literate, or really great at art, or really great at communication or language, or whatever, maths, whatever it is. So we want to actually say this: I am allowed. I have value, and it's up to me even more. I must boundary my value, because there lie my boundaries of self, the meaning of life, my ability to say, I'm going to keep this sacred and precious. Me lashing out in myself that is able to navigate this, facilitate it, has skill with this. We all have different versions of self, and that I always of saying some which are also to mama or daddy, and that's association right there. That's where, if you can do that, friends chatting, and then the manager comes, and then we're associated thing. You've gone from role to role, so we can all do it. So work is to do. Have an internal location of evaluation and know your conditions of work. So that is by saying, it doesn't matter what I was born with and what was given to me by trauma or any kind of experience. I have the right to have human rights, to have investment, to have safety. And if I have an internal location evaluation that says, I've done my work, I've done my reading, I know my boundaries, I have my principles, I have my safety mechanisms, I have my my trigger plans, my this, that, and the others. And I know that I'm a safe person and I will not be projected upon any longer. And I am allowed to live a productive and fully functioning life. And I will stay in my version of self, not yours that wants everyone hung because they couldn't possibly be a decent human being. Well, you're living in and amongst them, and some of them are your children, and you don't even know it. So we've got to come to terms with the fact that this exists, and it deserves care, attention, kindness, empathy. So create the environment for it, and give yourself that internal location evaluation that says, I've earned to stay within myself, within my knowledge of self. You can't tell me who I am and what I'm going to do because I have done my self-work. My self-work. How many sessions of counselling have you been to? Oh, none. Well, you've got nothing to tell me about you or me then. You've got nothing to tell me about anyone because you haven't been to self-development. You haven't done self-work. So you can't even tell me bits about your stuff that I might glean some good information from. You're just stuck in the dark. So zip it, bungle. Next, self-worth. Becoming self. I've written a book, How I Became a Person. And it really talks about how you create an environment of self, create an emotional attachment to self, a relationship with self, create the communication and the knowledge in which you can impart that gift to someone else, create a relationship with them, impart some space and some knowledge and some skills and some gifting to them so they can become their greatest self, then build this entire environment, invite others in and share it with other people and spread the word. So we want everyone to have a bit of person-centeredness in their life. Read my book, read another book, read any book. Get a person-centered book and read it because it will open up avenues of self and realise things. It's so simple. Like, I'm dyslexic and I did it, and I am crap at academia. So I got it done. Do it. Just do some reading. Or get one of those listening books, audio books. There's loads of self-help ones. Person-centered, that's the key word, because then it's about building knowledge of self, configuration, being that authentic self, being able to be in a relationship. I've got a PowerPoint that I might do one day live with you, but I'm not going to do it today because times are ticking as always, and I'm behind time. So get on, Faye. Invest in your whole with representation of all parts. So I want to do the Russian doll with this, and this is a different one. We've got the levels of self one, which is the external self, the perceived self, and the core self. But this one is more like a revealing, and I want you to think about it as you take off your coat, and what is underneath yourself. But you're still in your work clothes, so we'll take off our work clothes, and we're in our wait there. We haven't been vulnerable yet, so we haven't unpacked our day. So let's unpack our day, and wait there. There was something that was a little bit intimate there. There was actually a trigger or a hurt child part, or something that needs safety or communication. And then we go deeper into our real core vulnerable self, and we've got one missing, sorry. My godchildren were playing with it. Love them, but little rotters. So yes, we get to that core tiny weeny child part that says, here is my vulnerability. This was what the problem was. And actually this is what its needs are. So we want an ability to take a journey each day, maybe in the morning and the evening when we get in, and we say, have I got a home? Have I actually created space for me to shift from role to role? And while I'm shifting from role to role, have I got a human in there? Because if I'm coming from worker to parent, and I've got a robotic adult self with a real critical inner parent and no child to be seen ever, because, you know, get on with being a good girl and pull your socks up person, well, then I'm never actually representing myself. And when I get to being parent, there might not be anything left. And then I'll judge what turns up, because I'm expecting it to be this like all singing, all dancing parent, when actually, really, if I just listen to the human inside, I'll just be a mummy that got some ice cream and had a film day, because, you know, that's all that's left. And they would love it. They would love it if I was just vulnerable and was just a mummy that needed a film day with ice cream. How awesome. And that would teach them. I make self days. Even mummy does. So we're not going to stop doing that. And then they invest in their future. So we want to give it permission. So become your whole self and all your represented parts and all of your roles, and make them authentic. And if you have anything that is inauthentic, visit it. If you're, I like to talk about when I was jealous jealous mama, because my husband could go between his roles without any judgment. Whereas I was stuck in, you've got to be the most perfect parent on the planet, because you've got, you know, the thing to break the cycle. So I wasn't ever allowed to be silly and play and have fart jokes and be daddy and mummy, and, you know, I had to be parent and proper parent, and, you know, the one that was doing all the rules and the serious stuff and the education and the getting everything right, and God, that was stifling for me and them. And I almost created conditions of worth on them because they had to be perfect children, when, oh God, I wasn't meaning you had to be perfect, it was just me that had to be perfect. Oh shit, I didn't mean to transfer that onto you, but oops, I nearly did, but I didn't. So I caught it just in time. So make a safety mechanism that allows you to make sure you're being authentically represented in each role that you come to. And then you can be a better worker. You can be a better mother. You can be a better partner. You can be a better friend. You're not on the outside holding yourself back because I've got to hold this all in. You're being in the friendship because they want you to be in there, because this is authentic. And get on in there, would you, instead of looking from the outside always and, you know, never needing us when we're allowed to need you. What's wrong with us? You know, why won't she be properly part of the relationship? Why won't he join the team properly? Because are we not good enough for him? No, he's thinking he's not good enough for you, or she's thinking she's going to be a burden, and they don't realize that they have to be invited a million times before they take one step in, because it's an internal invite. It's me saying I've got permission to give myself, to be vulnerable, to be friend, not do friend, be friend. Let them friend on me, because they want to. That's the deliciousness of life, and I'm holding them from it because I haven't got permission to be a person. So get personing, guys. Be a human being. Maslow's triangle. Maslow's the triangle, fuck out of it. Go and look at that theory bubble. It really makes sense of things, and then you can gradually either backfill, but you can't make anything on no foundation of human beings. So get it done. So once you get to psychological safety and your belonging, and you have esteem and some cognitive understanding, you've actualized into your fully functioning self, and you've got figured self, so wherever you go, there you are, and whatever comes, here I am. And you have some transcendence, because now look, I'm actually getting a bit flow at this. I'm getting a bit skilled at it. I can share it with others, and hey, it won't look like mine, because mine looked like this, and I'm a me and him. Yours is going to look totally different, but, you know, take the seed home and grow it. You've got this. Don't worry. You know, you'll fall over a few times, but everyone does. Don't worry about it. And you've transcended. So we want to get to the point where you're safe enough to have expression, to actually, you know, become. And that requires you to get safe and stay safe. So the last session was all about staying safe and staying out of the stigma, out of the discrimination, out of the online awfulness. Keep your lovely little precious bodies out of that and get yourself safe and get to your best version of self with all your boundaries and all your skills and all your knowledge and all your everything. And yeah, I've got this and what of it? Because actually I'm doing all this with teenagers, which is helping them take it to counselling. And I'm also giving these researchers some really great information, because now we're helping those guys, those guys that aren't attracted to children and they lash out at them sexually because they're not taking shit to counselling. Yeah, we're helping them now. Yeah. Ironic, isn't it? So get to that space, and you have to know that you are valuable enough to be allowed it. That's an internal permission, I'm afraid. So just get that work done and maintain it and make it precious and boundary it and keep it safe. And no, you're not allowed to over there. You do that over there, not around me anymore, because I've got a precious being to grow. And we're really excited about it now. So next bit, yay. Third way through, identity. So your psychological identity is layers of self, and there is a theory bubble which goes through it really well. Have a look at that. But it's basically, if we get an authentic version of our social self, so our roles and how we live our life within the confines of the law and social comfort, but it's authentic, it is witnessed, it is a true version of ourselves, even though there's private parts that we only witness to people that have earned that privacy, but still we are a fully functioning version of our social external self, because it is authentic. It just has boundaries and safeties and mechanisms and earning slips and things like that. And then we're able to have our identity and our core and our perceived self staying with us, not constantly going out there and, oh, am I gross and am I disgusting and do I deserve to die? No, actually I don't, and that's really horrible of you, and you need to go to counselling to sort all that out, because, oh, that's a bit hateful. What's going on in your life? No, me, I'm a really great person. I've done all this counselling, and yeah, I've got that, which I've got really well honed now, but I've also got all these other things really fantastic. So you were wrong and I was right. So yay. And then we get to the point where our core self, our human frailty, our little person inside that's keeping everything secret, is actually honed and held and belonged and said, oh, you can achieve and become if I just give you the right environment to do so, and if I stop just putting horrible and people, places, and we actually become a fully functioning great way. And if you think about it in psychodynamic terms, those three parts, as the rider, the saddle and reins, and the child, sorry, not the child, the horse. So the horse, the gallivanting horse, is having fun. The child part, that internal vulnerable bit that gives you all those permissions to just be and get on. Lots of us as adults don't have that. That's why we get stuck and we don't have permission. So we want permission, but we want guided. We want some reins and a saddle that makes us feel like we are safe and we do have something that's not just going to run ourselves off the cliff. And there is a rider that's looking ahead and reminding us that we need to drink water and have food and have a poo and a pee and get shelter because it's getting dark and cold. And, have friends as well because it's a bit lonely. And, I do want to do that horse riding show and get that badge because, I want that on my wall. So we get to become a really skilled rider of life. And, yeah, we've got this thing that we live with, that we deal with, that we home, that we keep safe. But the rest of it, yeehaw! So let's get skilled at our identity and finding who we are. So in our identity, you have to think of what you have to live with, and there might be multi conditions, and a lot of people who have learning difficulties, who have autism spectrum disorder, who have cognitive issues, mental health issues. They have histories that affect, because actually infantile trauma affects your IQ, your learning ability, your ability to memorize, your mohican of self. It changes your character. It can cognitions, the way that your amygdala response, cortex comes online, all of these different things. So if we understand ourselves and we get knowledgeable about how our body works, we get scientific about it, because yeah, my body does that. Sorry, this happened, and then that happened, and that equals this. So I got to live with that, and I live with it really well. So stop judging me. That's your work to do. So we can get to the point where we have a real knowledgeable understanding of our issues, of our frailties, of the things that we have to live with, and both the good and bad of them, because in everything there's a silver lining. Even paedophilia, there is a real wonderful quality within it to be able to connect with child, to have that playful side, to have that child within themselves, to have that real interest and love. Most adults aren't interested in children, they're beyond all that. I'm just going, but loving about them, and they, so even that there was one place, I can't remember what country it was, but they were sending the worst affected children who were really struggling to non-offending paedophiles, because they had the exact qualities to nurture them back to their fullest version of self, knowing that they'd done the work. Yeah, they got this thing. It's not going to lead anywhere. They've got it all done. But they have the great qualities to help nurture these children back to life, because they're so invested in them, because they find them so goddamn interesting and lovely. And it's not sexual attraction mostly. It's just they're just such wonderful beings, attraction, and they find them really lovely to be around and watch them play and listen to them talk, and just find them really enjoyable. Not sexually, just as human beings. So anyway, I'm getting off topic. Find out what your historic is, what your amygdala response is, whether you're fight, flight, flop, freeze, friend, how you bring online your prefrontal cortex. Is it through music? Is it through I'm going to show you a technique actually later for bringing the prefrontal cortex online. There's lots of different ones, but find out what works for you, so that you can say, oh, I've noticed I'm triggering, I'm struggling, I know how to deal with that. Instead of go down a trigger path, go down a well-being path and recover and say, right, we bring online this instead of that. We don't go down there and trigger out. We go up here and say, oh, I need to make safe this trigger, so we can sort of get it moving into functioning again. So if you know whether you have dissociation, body or gender or sexuality dysphoria, mental health conditions, derealization, have medications and side effects, that's a big one. Living with medications that you have to be on because your body, this is the medications that you need, but these side effects. That's a tough one. So you have to communicate them and say, oh, it's not me, it's the side effects. It's not that I don't fancy you anymore, it's that this is one of the side effects of Prozac. And I'd really like to work around it if you could just be vulnerable enough with me to not take my whatever personally, and just understand that behind that person is someone who's on tablets that really wish it didn't affect them in this way. So if you got into the communication, into the vulnerability, into the intimacy of, yeah, I'm on medications, this is how it affects me, but I would still like to get around that, then you're more likely to get around it. The life environment factors. So this is all about care, suicidality, socioeconomic situations. So we've got to know that bottom level of the Maslow triangle. You can't invest in counselling if you don't know when you're next going to have to fill your car up, or it's beans for tea again or whatever. So we've got to get into safety mechanism and then into the ability to get into therapeutic position. So first things first, but then really invest in it. Say, right, this is worth investing in. This is worth me cornering off some time, some energy, some money, some vulnerability to go and ask for some help, to go and call up these different whatever groups, or getting involved in one of the online groups that had safety and process in mind. There's loads of them: stopso.org, verped.org, lucyfaithful.org.uk, jesushouse.org.uk, angebleu.com, which is the Blue Angel Association, theconversation.com, Prostasia Foundation, the preventionproject.org, primary prevention, CSA primaryprevention.org. Get in touch and create a safety so that then you can write, I'm building up a sense of self and I can start caring for things and looking into stuff. So then I know what body and what other things it needs to look after. And if I'm ignoring the fact that I've got OCD, then I could end up all the way down a rabbit's hole because of the OCD, not because of the paedophilia. So we're treating the wrong condition here because, well, we've got that sorted. Oh shit, but I slipped up there. So we've got to think about self as a whole, and that base self, which is our core child, human, like little frail, vulnerable, visceral self, and what they have to live with. What are their mental health conditions? What habits are they on? How do they sleep? What is their social economic status? How is their amygdala? All these different things. Get care. And think about it in terms of, is this something I can care for? Or is this something I can value? So is it something I can communicate? And so we're creating a situation where we are, first of all, autonomous and self-governing. What is it I can do? Then we are creating a safety, because I'm allowed to be safe, and that's where my best work is. And then we're creating communication that says, who else can help? Where can I take this? What else could help with this? So don't go to counselling for paedophilia, go for OCD. I'm having a real struggle with usual pornographic material OCD-wise, and get some skills on it. You don't have to have gone to offending to be starting that slippery slope. So if you get to the point where I have this and that could be a slippery slope, then you're more likely to be able to keep yourself safe from harming yourself or someone else, because everyone gets hurt in that situation. Your whole family, their whole family, you, them, the whole thing's a shit mess. So let's not go there, let's stay here. So the more we know about that, the more we can stay at this end, favoured towards, winning instead of losing, because everyone loses when they force the situation into the worst environment of self and the worst conditions of self, and then they expect all sorts of themselves, and they get something crap out of it. Anyone would end up there. And in fact, as we said at the beginning, 70% of child sex molestation happens by people who aren't attracted to children. So we know a great deal of men can get there, and a few women too. So let's think about care. Thing with care is recognize, notice, make a difference. So if you can say, because a lot of people get overwhelmed with how much they've got to change, and really change is just noticing each time and being different with it. And then it becomes habit, the new way of being, and all of a sudden you're not even thinking about it and it's gone. And if you think that habit is 21 days to make and 63 days to break, so we've just got to notice for 21 days and then create what's that noticing. Oh, it's this it needs. And go to count other things that can distract me or whatever it is, so that we actually evolve ourselves and we get to the point where our bad habit, our unwell-being habit, is going away. So it might be that actually I notice that I'm a much worse version of myself on a Friday because I spend all afternoon on Twitter receiving all the hate. And then that impregnates my weekend. Why do I do that? I will do Twitter on a Tuesday now, because then I can boundary it, I can get what championing I need to do, and then I have my weekend to myself and I won't do it on a Friday. So then you start sort of actually navigating your habit and what makes you worse and what makes you better, and you can get into difference. Care can look like lots of different things. Signposting and communicating. So we talked a little about that. And counselling, as I said, keep yourself safe and go. Go for all sorts of things, including philia, until you know that you're with a really good, safe counsellor that is going to work with you properly on this. Communicate with yourself. Have a self-dialogue. Am I being horrible to myself all day, every day? What's going to grow in that? Am I taking myself on Twitter every day to have a monologue diatribe of awfulness and hate? What's going to grow in that? So we start giving ourselves the opportunity to build up well-being. Technique, there's a few. Tapping, I'm going to do a thought bubble on that, a theory bubble on that, maybe tomorrow, so that'll be on soon. I've done it on the other two, but it's basically meridian points, your nerve endings around your body, and you take a statement that you're changing the habit on down that side, and it takes it out of the amygdala. Then you bring on your prefrontal cortex through eye reflex and hearing reflex. You do these eye movements, and then you hum, and then you take even though it remains, this remaining statement down the other side of the body to sort of seal it in here, not there, here. That's tapping, emotional freedom technique, and that's a really minute and a half, once a day. Do it for 63 days, and you can change all sorts, make difference with all sorts. Another really good one is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, 3 things I can hear, 2 things I can smell, 1 thing I can taste. And doing that cognitively takes you out of here and into here, and by the time you've got to the end, you're back in yourself, a full version of yourself, with all your cognition and your prefrontal cortex back online. Another great one is the 12-foot 6-inch stare. So you go between here, your finger, and the wall, 12 feet away if you can. And you can do it without the finger if you get even knows you're doing it. And it's a real good way of regulating your emotions, your cognitive, and bringing you back into your principled, fully functioning, high-functioning version of self. Dexter, in your bed. Do you want to go in the kitchen? So I'm pulling out here. So look up on Pinterest. It's a really great place to find different techniques, anxiety techniques, CBT techniques, trauma tech, all these different things. You just type it in and it gives you a whole load of different 5-minute things that you can just, I'll make a board on that, and then whenever I'm on the toilet or I've got a break or on the train, I can have a little read and I can keep acknowledging myself and think, oh, I don't need the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 anymore. I've got this new thing that's even better. Support and belonging. It's so important. So even if it is an online group, an anonymous one, try and find a counsellor. Try and get a family member or a teammate or a close partner in on this so that you're not alone. Because loneliness creates our worst version of self. And we don't want you there. You don't. Reach out, be brave and reach out. And even if it's not reaching out in, I've got this, it's just reaching out in, I struggle with social aspects. I've been hiding away for a long time. You know, I'm not confident of self, or, you know, I'd like if we can find some, you know, some similar spirited people and get our belonging and our support networks up. Do that. education is another great one. Knowledge is power. Read, research, edge towards the supportive research end of Twitter and Facebook, so that you're nourishing yourself with good stuff, some good knowledge, some good things that nurture the soul and nourish yourself, because it's not all doom and gloom. In fact, statistics say it's pretty much the opposite, actually. And really, we just need all men to go into personal development and counselling and talk and communicate and let themselves be human and have rights to be vulnerable and have their intimate side and go and share and be safe, and not have all of these different expectations put upon self because man. Let's actually do the work of educating ourselves, but not of educating other people. That's not our work. We can gift them, and if they don't want it, we move on. We're not going to waste our valuable self there anymore. A diagnosis and prescription. Getting a diagnosis for something like autism or a learning difficulty or OCD or autopaedophilia, which is a different type of paedophilia where you're not sexually attracted to children. You have either thoughts that are fine with you, that you think of being little and being child, and you like that submissive thing with an adult. You're not sexually attracted to children, nor do you want to be. You're over here feeling young and whatever. Or it's a trauma-based response where you're getting intrusive imaging when you're intimate because of trauma and what it triggers in your brain. So it can either be something that's perfectly fine and perfectly lovely, and you invest in it with, dom and submissive sex. If it's a traumatic thing, if it's an invasive thing, if it's a bringing down thing, then it deserves care and attention. There's lots of treating it, EMDR, rewind therapy, EFT, all these different things. So go and get diagnosis. Also, if you are really struggling with urge, there are medications that you can go on that reduce your testosterone. A lot of men that I've been speaking to that are through the worrying days is because their testosterone is lower, and they know that they can navigate their urge, and they can be facilitating with themselves without projecting that onto another, and they're very okay with it. Whereas some younger people might actually hit a stage where they get really struggling with it, and not because principled, emotionally, cognitively, anything wise that they're struggling with it. It's just hormonal, and it might be nice to take that edge off. And how do we do that? Because going to the doctors and asking for a specific medication that reduces testosterone is a very tricky thing to do, because why are you transgendered from male to female, or do you have something else you're trying to reduce, so it reduces your safety? And not that I'm saying getting that offline, because that can be dangerous, but find ways of looking. Must be safe, but there must be. Maybe we can have someone look into that. Actually, there must be remedies that reduce testosterone. In fact, I feel like I've done that work somewhere, so I might even come to it. So anyway, get the diagnosis and prescription. Therapy, we've said that before. Do it. Exercise. Exercise is another really good thing. It can increase your feel-good factor. It can increase your energy to get your ability to sleep. And sleep is one of the #1 factors of destroying someone's good version of self. So if we can sleep well, that's half the battle. So get some exercise, and the testosterone, safe release or reduction. And we're going to do that in another session when we get to fantasy, rules and expression. That'll be next time on the whatever it is, third Wednesday, I think it is, of November. So and yourself, and take care. And then we actually get this sleep app called Dream Sleep Recorder, and it records your talk in the night, or your snoring, or whatever, and then you can actually say, oh God, I've had no sleep, or loads of sleep, or oh shit, God, what was all that about? Put yourself to sleep through the tapping. It's a really great thing. This is about making a statement of intent, contracting, safety making, expression with honor and witness, boundaries. Read it, make it valuable. This is myself. So I want you to take a journey. Look at one of the theory bubbles, and I want you to know what the full version of you looks like, and that begins with your root systems, and it's your identity, your belonging. How much belonging do you perceive as a lonely soul? You're doing from online thing, which you hate. So actually, what is my home environment like? My nature, what do I have to look after? What is my nurture expectation? Did I have an absolute detachment as a child? So my attachment struggled, which makes my ability to empathize or be victim or hold victim struggles. So I need to do that work, whatever it is, because it comes from somewhere, and you're usually not responsible for it. But if you understood it, you could actually navigate it and be facultative with it. Expectations. What are expectations on me? What are my expectations of self? Are they reasonable? Are they human? Are they, am I able to do these with the environment that's here right now? What is my social and economic status? Where is my mental health status? How is, my Maslow's triangle, my physiological end of the spectrum? If I haven't got any of that situated, my expectations of self need to be low, because otherwise it's not fair to expect anything else. Then we can look at our disabilities, and we can get to encouragement and celebration, have some care and some safety, what our boundaries of self are, see what our ailments and health is, whether we have our pain managed, what our self-governance is, and have we got any. If we're erring towards wanting to get permission for things, then we're sort of seeking permission. We know that actually our internal gut is saying, we're having to do a lot of work on trying to find permission for this. Why are we still trying to find permission for this? What is driving this? Where is our struggle? Where is our urge? What needs the attention, instead of looking for this permission, which is not granted by our gut? Our human rights, our safety, our historic, which is infantile, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, whether there is any injustice there that can be triggered, that we need to look after, whether there is any injury or neglect, whether we had security and stability and safety and care and support, investment and celebration, or not. So if there is a hole there, and actually we need to take responsibility for the fact that we have a missing. If we never had a celebrated child part, then it's our turn to celebrate our child part, and we need to go take ourselves to the park. No, maybe not. We need to go and get an ice cream. We need to get some puzzles. We need to watch the things that we used to be into, or listen to the music that used to give us joy. We need to invest in our emotions of self that make us feel like we're alive and celebrated. And then we get to be able to look at what we've got to guard away from, so that what's taken from us, our lost, our unsafe, our dishonoured self, our always working, are we getting home? Otherwise, when do we get to grow? When do we get to nurture? What are we disrespecting? What's unvaluable? What war against self is there? What lost governance do we have? Have we given our governance to someone else? What monologue of judgment are we listening to every day? Are we boundaryless, or do we have an invaded self? Do we have someone that's taking? Do we live with a narcissist, or are we someone's what's it when they stick onto you and leech? Do we have an uncared historic? Do we actually need to go and do some repair work and some recovery of an injured self? Do we have an external evaluation process? Do we need to limit our online time? Do we need to actually do some self-discovery so we're not earning ourselves externally so much and losing ourselves there? Are we disconnected? Do we have loads of condition of worth? Do we have an unsafe identity? If any of those are around, then we need to actually get those safe before we can ever become something. Once we've got those safe, and we can say, right, I can in my prefrontal cortex, I've gotten safe, so I can get to the point where I can risk process. I have a kindness and empathy in my heart, because I have actually honed all of this historic and made safe all of these boundaries. I have my instincts turned on so that I listen to my body and myself and my principles and my guidance and my governance and autonomy. I do have my intimacy, privacy and safety guarded in my groin, so I am allowed to be safe, private, and have that vulnerability taken somewhere and cared for. Then you get to build up this process environment of self, this ability to have a process environment. And that's a daily thing. Today I'm going to be in process. I choose to be in process. I give myself permission to be in process. I say yesterday is gone and today is another day to seek process and be my best version of self, whatever this day is, however I have woken up. So then we get to, have I got home? Am I grounded? Am I invested in myself? Have I acknowledged myself? Have I an internal evaluation of self? Do I know myself within and hold that there? You can't tell me who I am. I've done that work. Have I had it communicated, a dialogue with self or someone else? Do I have my hobbies? Have I achieved with something so I can feel like I've got some esteem in something? Have I got my belief set so I'm not indoctrinated? I have a relationship with my God and it's a good one. Or I have my core beliefs in humanity and they're good ones. Or I have my whatever belief system it is and they're real values and what have you. My authentic identity. So all my versions, my internal, my perceived self, and my external self is a true version of me. It's just different levels because a worker is a different person from lover. And that's just the way it is, thankfully. Authentic identity. I have my principles, my values. I respect them. I visited them and I know what's core to me and I will keep them safe. I have a safe evolution. So I am able to grow. I am safe enough to take myself on a journey of growth. I do have self-governance. I am driving my bus myself. No one else is driving it for me. They're not giving me permission to do anything because some people are on there saying that children can consent to sex and they want it. And well, we don't want someone else's version of humanity to invade our principled version of humanity, which is, of course, children can't give consent and it always leaves damage. not just to them, to us, and everyone that is attached to them, because, ow. So we get to that thing of, I have my autonomy and I am my version of self, and you will not project upon it. We have that dialogue of empathy. We have a self-honouring. We have our boundary zone, our configurated status. We are a full version of self, and it is authentic. We have connection and meaning and acceptance. We are honed. We are instinctual. We are passionate. We have homeostasis, balance. Go to the thought bubble, the theory bubble, we have one on there. We are being rather than doing and existing. We are realistic. We are real human beings, not robotic doings. We have love and are loved. We have love in our heart and we give it to ourselves. We receive it and we give it to others. We are actualized and we celebrate that. And we are always becoming. Every person on the planet is always becoming. And that's why we invite people who are post-justice, in rehabilitation and recovery, and wanting to seek full self again, and that full back to justice, and that is recovery of all, which is self, principles, and victim. And that is really principled, wonderful work to do, and I will not get in the way of it. And I wish other people wouldn't either, because their victims deserve that work, or any future victims deserve that work. They deserve that work as a human being, because we can all be our worst version of self, and there but the grace of God go I. And we all need to sort of have this moment with ourselves, so that we know that we can be better and we can all be worse. So let's stack the odds in our favour. May the odds ever be in your favour, darlings. So that's the end of the moral bit. We're coming towards the end. Oh my gosh, I'm on sketch. Get me! So being around minors. This is about know thyself, self-governance and autonomy. So this is about the top half of the page. We're down here now, but this is about up here. We have done the work. Now, if you feel like you are a danger around minors, you boundary. You don't be around minors. You keep yourself safe. And there's a great deal of adults who are minor attracted, and they don't have any jobs, any hobbies, any nothing to do with kids, because they don't want to put themselves there, and they want to invest all over here, and they want to make themselves as safe as possible, and they're not going to do that to themselves or to anyone else. And it's a great thing. And there are others that have minor attraction, grandkids, godkids, children, la la la, and they haven't ever touched anyone and aren't ever going to touch anyone, and they have a real okayness about it, and they have a great ability to stay safe. So it's about knowing yourself. I can't be responsible for being a mind reader. You know yourself. You know whether you're in danger. You know whether you're on a slippery slope. You know whether you're searching for permission. You know whether you're looking for clues and what have you. Children, and this is most children are most likely to use their friend reflex, and that is, yeah, this is the greatest thing ever, and I want to do anything that makes this great and makes you feel great, and whatever, I just want to survive this and get out of here, so I'll do whatever you want and feel great about it. They're just doing the friend. So if you're going down that slippery slope of looking for permission, you're going to find it, because kids friend when they're scared, and you're going to make a mistake. So know thyself. If you know that you're fiercely non-offending, know that, have your principles, then you know where you are in your version of self. If you're really struggling, if you're really lashing out at, your friends, well, don't be around kids, because, you could lash out at them too. If you know that you are your best version of self and you've got all this in the bag and there's no intent anywhere, because you wouldn't ever, then there is no reason to deny yourself family and belonging and connection. So know thyself. Do the work. Take yourself to counselling and do the work there with a philia, any philia, with a self, yourself, with a struggle, and let them earn that honour to do that work with you safely. So get that self-governance and drive your own bus. And if you feel like you've got a tyre out, you feel like you're low on petrol, you feel like you've got too many kids in the back of the car, you feel like you need to just get away from here and go and camp in the middle of nowhere, you feel like setting light to your bus and starting anew because this is all getting too dangerous, you know thyself. Keep yourself and everyone else safe. Know how you need to be around children. And just know that if you're on the pathway and you're opening that gate towards a micro contact, do the research that shows categorically, without doubt, that it is only going to create detriment. And that might not be because you have been unloving and uncaring and this, that, and the other. And I can do it safely, and I can do it surrogately, and I can do it kindly, and I can do it with love, and they enjoyed it, and da 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 da. No, because even if their body responds, even if their friend responds, amygdala responds, even if they orgasm, their brain is later going to really struggle with what you could have done to them, what you did do to them, what that left within themselves, what fear that embarked on them, what projection that created, what stigma that holds, what societal stigma. So even if they felt like that was a great thing, I love that, when they later on know that no one else loves that, and even if it is a societal thing, that's something to live with, and that's a real tough thing for children to get their head around. So even that, their little brains, their senses of self, their mohican of self, their amygdalas, their skill set, the communication, their intimacy, their nerve endings, everything is not ready. So know thyself and know children and do the research, because it will always bring you back to humanity, I promise. And if you're ever really struggling, contact me. I'm safe. I'm not going to knee-jerk reaction. I will get you safe. Okay, I promise. So do it. Check on your boundaries, personal well-being level. Know your spectrum of self. I know that when I'm struggling, my first thing is I intrusive think. Oh, I'm intrusive think. God, I'm intrusive thinking a lot at the moment. Oh God, I've had that little daydream again. Oh, that horrible daydream's back. Oh wait there, I'm overloaded. My intrusive thinking isn't telling me anything about me other than I'm overloaded. So know what your amygdala response is, what your trigger response is, what your body stressed response is, and listen to it. Keep yourself within this version of self, not towards that end or towards that end, because if the world's going to end, we'll go and do stuff. If we're our worst version of self in our most robotic state and we're just kicking out, we're going to do stuff. We want to stay here in this thoughtful, empathic, kind, communicated, caring, thoughtful self. And be knowing about it. And create those boundaries. Create personal statements. Practice them. Have them put on little post-its that have a little get out, so that, oh, I can't do that tonight, I've got so-and-so, or oh, I struggle around children, they really give me a headache. Or give yourself something that gives you lots of different ways to deal with this. You're allowed to deal with this. Anyone telling you that you're not allowed to deal with this, well, they're bloody mad, because you not dealing with this, well, no, it doesn't head one way, but it makes something much more likely. And that is that you're either going to do something to yourself or something to someone else, and that can include paedophilia. But it might be some other thing that's just, not equally as bad, but just bad as well. So let's not go down there. Safety, self-safety checks. Me, the place, and the minors. So my self-safety. Am I in a safe space? If I am not, I take ownership of that and I will not go. And not me personally, I'm not a paedophile, but if I was a paedophile, or let's not even make it about paedophilia, let's make it about being a counsellor. If I'm not safe to counsel, I will not counsel. That's my ethical duty. So if I don't feel safe as a person, I'm not going to go and make myself go and do something that makes me even more unsafe. So if you feel in an unsafe version of yourself because work and this and that, and you just split up with your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever, and you're struggling, don't add to that struggle your niece's birthday party in which everyone's sleeping around. Don't do that to yourself. Don't go. Have one of your little statements that you've practiced, that you've got this safety in, and create the get out clause. Know thyself. Make sure you know the place so that you can escape quickly if you suddenly get an unsafe moment. Someone wants help with the bathroom, or someone spilt something down them and they're taking everything off and oh shit, or whatever it is. Your niece wants to come and snuggle in bed with you. Know your get out. Know your safety response. Know how to remove yourself. Know the exit plan, basically. And also know the minors. So if you know that you're going to be around minors that are super affectionate and you are struggling, then don't be around them. If you know that you're going to be around minors that you can't stand, you don't have to worry. Well, unless you're in your bad version of yourself and you think you might kick them, don't do that either. So again, know thyself. Have your safety plan, have your safety self, and have those checks in place so that you are staying witnessed. You can't have a safety plan and then never look at it again and then be in the thing and think, oh, fuck, what was that safety plan? Oh, shit, I can't remember it. You've got to have it out and about and get it into your memory, your cell memories, your body memory, your instinct memory, your heart memory, your principal memory, your prefrontal cortex memory, your amygdala memory, your get out clause memory, your worst version of self memory, your best version of self memory, all of this different memory. Next, plan for unsafety. Retreat, timeout, statements, safety boundary, code words, knowledge, support. So if you can have a code word that says a lot, that instantly puts something in the room with you, we know what we're talking about. Or there's some, I don't like this, or whatever. It can be, I don't want to make this child uncomfortable, but also I'm uncomfortable with this child because, I don't like it because everything. Code word, and then someone can remove without whatever. So we can have our safety plan. So have your code words, know what your boundaries are, know what your safety mechanism is, know how to retreat, know how to give yourself timeouts. It might be that you have a different condition that says, I am on the autistic spectrum and I like to have some time on my own. When it all gets too much, I need some get out time. And that gives you a real easy, oh, it's just my autism, I need some get out time. It's not the paedophilia and all these kids in the room. It's my autism and everyone's being noisy. So be clever with it so that you keep yourself safe and everyone else. And you can use anything that's truth. It doesn't have to be the main truth. It can just be a truth. Until you get to the point where you're really struggling, and if it's between you hurting yourself or someone else, then at that point, it's worth going to anyone, because don't hurt yourself or someone else. Don't do that, because any old counsellor is better than no counsellor. Well, do your research, actually, because I don't really mean that statement, because some counsellors are really dangerous. But anyway, do research, but get safe. Counselling to unpack and gain governance. Keep going on about counselling, but of course I would. I love it. It's my main bag. I wave the counselling flag, and I love it. I cannot sell it enough. It will change your life. Self-development is the best money you will ever spend. It literally invests in everything. You're going to be a better worker, a better mother or father, a better partner, a better friend, a better self, a better sports player, unlike me, a better everything. Everything is going to be better because you are yourself in a better version, and you know how to look after your worst version and support it and keep away from it. So do it. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. And like there's loads of online stuff to do now as well, you know, do a Myers-Briggs. Find out your Myers-Briggs type and make yourself a Pinterest board. You know, do the couple board if you're in a couple. Do the you and I board, do the family board, do whatever so that you get knowledgeable and you go, right, I'm I'm this and I like this type of holiday and this is what my amygdala does when I'm scared and these are my favourite kind of animals, and if you want to buy me a gift, wow, any of these, so that people get to know you and you get to know yourself and you represent yourself better and you know how to invest in yourself and you remember what your body wants and what it needs. Rules and checklists. It's really good to make a statement of intent and have rules to stick by, and so that you know what your boundaries are, and you know where you are. You are a self-governing, autonomous adult individual, although we do have quite a few children as well struggling with this, which is very sad, because they're struggling alone because of our adult projection of the how dare we. But anyway, get out of that lamenting. Rules and checklists. Make your rules, check them, and then check them again, and keep checking them. Am I doing this? Am I doing self-care? Am I keeping my boundaries? Have I kept up with my personal development? Am I still reading? You know, have I gone to the pro contact site again? Oops, wait there, what's going on here? So that you have your safety mechanisms, your little buffer zones that are before perpetration of self or other, or getting towards any worse version of self. We don't want you to have a breakdown even. Like, don't do it. Let's get safe, not this end of self. Or, you know, in the middle of self, actually, not that end, because, you know, end of life, we might as well do anything. Role played or read survival stories, connect with self as victim or other. So role play is about finding the adult, parental, loving person that can care for the person inside that's missing out forever on something that they were born with and that they have to deal with. But B is able to role play the idea of what it would be to be perpetrator and victim, what it would be to be victim or perpetrator, what it is to be child and to hold that sacred and guardianship, and what it is to be a guardian of that, what it is to be humanitarian, principled and self, what it is to be paedophile pro contact, what it is to be a perpetrator. Like, look into all of it so that you actually are knowledgeable about all these roles and what I don't want myself to go into and what I won't ever let myself go down the role of, because whatever, I will know myself so well that that won't ever happen. So you can get more ideas of self and where the struggle might lie because you've visited it in role play, either with a really trusted friend or colleague or counsellor, or just in self. So you can sort of have a role play with people within it. Actually switch your empathic system, your ability to see self as a victim or other, ability to mourn and grieve and create safety, your ability to invest and prize and create celebration. Read survivor stories. If you have no experience on victim or perpetration or all of those different things, go and read some stuff. Get your empathic heart open to what it does to child, what it does to Mohican self, what it does to your learning ability, your IQ, all of these different things, and then witness that. Because once you know that, you couldn't possibly do that to someone unless you are a psychopath in your worst version of self. and kicking out in that way. If we can get everyone to do this work, I think the vast majority, the majority, wouldn't ever on that path. So we can get to a safe way of being. So we're at the end of today's session, and I want to end with a little rainbow. Go into one of the thought bubbles, theory bubbles, because it will explain it a bit more. But I want you to take a rainbow body scan, and it's to start at your head, have a thought of whether this is condition of worth, projection, in which case in the bin, care, or if it is my work, process, therapeutic movement, some growth to do. Take it to mouth. Have I had a dialogue or some kind of awful monologue, or have I received some kind of conditional blah, blah, blah style? Deep with it, invite it in. Who are you? What are you? Where have you come from? How do you feel? What do you look like? What do you smell like? What do you want to say? Then we take it to our heart and have an empathic space and say, have I felt you? Have I really understood you? Have I really been with you and how it feels to be you in your place of being and rawness? Then we take it down and wonder whether we've had any of our instincts missed, whether we've heard something that we've foregone, that we heard it but then we poo-pooed it, whether we actually need to switch on and we need to be dynamic, we need to reinvest in that space and go further down into our groin, whether we've been intimate, we've invited either ourselves or someone else into that intimacy or vulnerability, and we've shared that, and we've actually been able to be meaningful and discover and explore and get home and be safe and secure in that self-disclosure. And then we get to our feet and we go, have we got our shoes off and got home? Have we got naked into our comfies and said, I'm a human being trying to be a person who has all these roles to fulfill? And have I been authentic in that? And have I witnessed myself and the other people within my belongingness? And then we go to our body and say, as a whole, have I visited it as a functioning system? Have I slept? Have I eaten? Have I excreted? Have I got some kind of balance? And have I visited my libido in self or lack of, or my libido relationship within relationship, because someone's always wanting and someone's always needing, and that dynamic within that, so that we can visit our Maslow's triangle and get to a base level of self, and then grow upwards into our belonging, our esteem needs, our cognitive needs, our transcendence. Thanks so much for coming again, everyone. As always, feedback, negative, if we give it kindly. And thanks for coming. Give me content, give me whatever. And keep on trucking. And anyone that is in crisis, there are lots of crisis teams, reach out. Anyone who just wants to become fully safe, celebrated self with a fully safe part, turn up, look at the other videos, come to the next session, think about contacting. But either way, much love, big love to you all, and keep brilliant. Speak to you soon on 21st, I think, of November. Wednesday, the 21st of November, 7 till 9 p.m. UK time. Be there or be square. Ta-ra!